Hey everyone, Andres here. Welcome again. Today I'm gonna be doing something a little bit different. I'm not going to be reviewing anything today. I'm actually gonna be doing a list of albums. Now, this I think may be a series for some time. I'll try to maybe make it every single week, every single Friday or something, but I'll see how you guys like it and stuff. Every single week I'll try to get, I don't know, a discography or something, and I'll rank every single album from worst to the best. And I think a really good discography to start with is Trivium. So that's what I'm gonna be doing today. I'm gonna be deciding what my favorite and least favorite Trivium albums are, because there aren't any bad ones. Anyways, let's get to it. Number 8, Ember to Inferno. I mean, you kind of could have seen this coming. I don't really listen to this album a lot. I actually just listened to the full thing for the first time a few days ago, and I must say I do see that they were going to be really good, but I don't feel like it has everything that they have in their next albums. I mean, the album right after that is pretty high on the list, and you'll see it later. Ember to Inferno is just, they're too young, I think, at that point. Number 7, Silence in the Snow. You probably saw this coming as well, pretty much at the bottom of the list, because it's not their best album. Matt Heafy had basically lost his voice for a few years there, and he couldn't scream. I think that when you're a singer and you start losing your voice, you kind of lose a little bit of motivation and inspiration to actually write some insanely good music. So I think Silence in the Snow is kind of lackluster a little bit. I still feel like it's a good album, but it's most definitely not their best. It's pretty far away from their best, actually. The title track I really do enjoy, actually. Anyways, let's get to the next one. Number 6, we have Vengeance Falls. Now, my problem with this album is much different than Silence in the Snow. Silence in the Snow, it feels like, you know, they were having trouble, so they couldn't really focus on actually writing like the best music that they could write, which they would after that, okay? So Vengeance Falls just kind of feels a little bit boring to me. Strife is a great song. Overall, it's just a little bit of a boring album. There's not many songs that I can actually remember from Vengeance Falls. It feels, again, a little bit lackluster, like they were missing a little bit of motivation. Maybe some inspiration problems, I'm not sure, but it just felt like it wasn't what Trivium actually is, and what Trivium had actually been before. Now, we get to Boring 2.0 is what I'm calling it here in my notes. In Waves. In Waves is just the same thing as Vengeance Falls, but it just has 2 tracks that you can remember. It's just the same thing as Vengeance Falls, it just falls into the same category. Not their greatest, but it's also not their worst. It's just kind of in between. It's a little bit average, a little bit boring. Anyways, here we're starting to get onto the good-ass albums, okay? Number 4, we have The Crusade. The Crusade is really good, okay? I'll preface by saying that. I do think they would become much better after that, but also they had been better before. Their second album is higher on the list, simply because I think that The Crusade is a little bit too much of a Metallica clone. You know, it just feels like they were basing themselves on Metallica's sound a little bit too much, and on like their inspirations sound a little bit too much, unlike they did in the next album, number 3, Ascendancy. Ascendancy is so good. It's so amazing. This is the album that actually introduced me to the band, and is, I think, one of the first albums I listened to with harsh vocals. I hated it in the beginning. I just didn't understand what they were saying. I was like, what the fuck is going on? Ascendancy is so good. Like, especially for a second album for a band. I don't understand how they did this, but it's so fucking good. Like, it has so many good songs, and so many songs that you'll remember after you've listened to it. you might be in the end of the album, you'll still be like, shit, I wish there was another song like to Fly. Fuck, that's a hard thing to say. Jeez, the first song is the best song in the album, in my opinion. But there is like, the third song is also really amazing, and the fourth song, again, it's just all so good. It's so fun to listen to as well. There's so much love in that album, that like, so much love that actually went into that album. I just can't fathom how their next albums are worse. Let's get to number 2. Number 2 and number 1 were a big contest for me. I really didn't know who to put in here. And after a little bit of debate, I have decided that I will put The Sin and the Sentence as number 2. Now, I would completely understand that someone has this as their number 1, because The Sin and the Sentence is a remarkable album. Like, you can't really, when you first listen to it, it's unfathomable how good it is, honestly. Like, they released it 1.5 years ago, and when I first listened to it, I just really couldn't understand. I like, after Silence in the Snow, I was kind of expecting a flop. I wasn't really excited for a new Trivium album, but fuck did this deliver. Like, it's so good. They have so many good songs in here. It's some long songs, some short songs, everything gets to the point when it needs to get to the point. And that is the best, especially for Trivium. Is this as good as number 1? Might as well be. I just have number 1 in there because it's a little bit heavier than The Sin and the Sentence, and in The Sin and the Sentence I still find myself like skipping through a couple tracks. But fuck, The Sin and the Sentence has what some people could think is their heaviest song. The Wretchedness Inside is some of the heaviest shit that's come out from Trivium, and I don't think you can beat that too much until you get to the next one. Fuck, I got too excited. Woo. By process of elimination, you could have realized that number 1 is what most people think is their best album. I'm not basing myself on most people, this is actually what I think. Shogun. Shogun is... I don't understand how this is so good. Like, there is not one single track that I skip. There's not one single song I don't listen to from this album. I've gone back and listened and listened and listened and listened and listened a few dozens of times to this entire album. And keep in mind, it's a pretty long album. I believe it's like 1 hour and 20 minutes or something. And it never gets boring. Even the shortest song, also a fucking banger. It's so amazing. It's probably one of the best songs in the album, right? Every chorus is catchy. Every heavy section needs to be as heavy as it is. Every clean section needs to be as clean as it is. It's just all so well put together, and there's so much love, like I spoke with The Sentence. I was honestly thinking of putting The Sin and the Sentence in number 1 in the list that I wrote down, but 5 minutes before recording this review, I was like, just kidding, this is actually number 1, because I went back, I listened to it, and I just couldn't stop listening to it. Anyways, for they have a lot of love in their music, and The Sin and the Sentence, I've been listening to since it came out. Shogun, I mean, I wasn't old enough to listen to actual like heavy metal at that point, but fuck, I would still be listening to it 11 years later now. Anyways, if you guys enjoyed, please be sure to hit that like button, subscribe. If you guys have a band that you want to see a ranked on, please leave it down in the comments. I'll be sure to get to them, or at least try to get to them. That said, that's it for the video today. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day. Stay metal.